Hello and welcome. I'm Saffron from Healing Womanhood, and I'm really excited about today's EFT video because I do like to think that all of our videos are very empowering. They support you in helping yourself and solving your own difficulties, but this one is going to be super empowering because it's all about teaching you how to create your own EFT script, and it's not even a script, it's just speaking as you go along. So I'm going to explain to you kind of the basics of it. But there's no way of doing this wrong. You can just adapt completely to how you're feeling at the time. Anything that comes into your mind, you can say it. And as we're doing EFT, we drop into a different state of mind, and it's not quite a hypnotic state of mind, but it's that sort of thing. We're accessing the subconscious. So the things that come up for you as you're tapping are really, really relevant for you. So as you know, if you've watched videos before, or if you've done EFT before, we start on the side of the hand. So this is called the karate chop point, and this is where we say the setup statement. And the setup statement is made out of 3 parts. So it begins with even though, that rarely changes, unless you're in a good place and you're just tapping in the positive. Usually we begin with even though. And then the second part is I have this problem. So this is the bit that's got huge amounts of adaptability in it. You can do loads of stuff with this. And then the final part is I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And this is an affirmation. And so this works for some people. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Other people will find that their mind is going, no, I don't. And we don't really want to deal with that while we're doing EFT for something else. We can deal with that in separate EFT. So what we do then is we adapt the affirmation. So we'll talk about the affirmation first because it's easier. It's, you know, there's more kind of definition to it than the middle section. So you would start with I deeply and completely love and accept myself. If that doesn't land, and what I mean by land is if there's a part of you that's kicking back against that, if you say that and that feels fine, stick with that. If it doesn't land, you can take it a step back. So I choose to deeply and completely love and accept myself. That's harder for your subconscious to push against because you can choose to do that. I choose to work towards deeply and completely loving and accepting myself. I choose to begin to love and accept myself. So there are so many different ways that we can adapt that and still keep the love and accept myself in it. If the love and accept myself bit is the bit that you're pushing against, we can take it even further back, make it even easier on your subconscious, and we can just say, that's okay, and I'm okay. That can be your affirmation. That's okay, and I'm okay. Even though I have this problem, that's okay, and I'm okay. And then we can take it one step back again if we need to. I wouldn't say this is a different level, but it can depend on what you're working on, what feels right in the moment, and you can switch it about because you'll say your setup statement 3 times, so you can have different affirmations on the end of each one if you want. And so one of the ones that I really like is, I choose to feel safe anyway. Even though I have this problem, I choose to feel safe anyway. So play with those, see what works for you, come up with maybe a different one. So just there's nothing wrong there, it's just a positive statement to bring acceptance. This is the way things are and that's okay. That's what you're saying really, that with your setup statement. And sometimes that can be very difficult for people because they're like, well, it's not okay. I wouldn't be working on it if it was okay. But acceptance is the beginning of change, of transformation. So that's okay for now, I guess, is where we're at. That's fine that that's how it is at the moment. And I can accept that and I can be okay with that. And I can stop resisting that so that the energy that was going into resisting that can go into change, creating change, working out how to make things better. So we'll go back now to the middle part of the setup statement. So we've got our even though, that's our beginning. We've got our affirmation at the end, which is some variation on I love and accept myself, I feel safe, the things we've just talked about. And then our middle section is what we're working on. So I should have said at the beginning of this video, if you can think of something you want to work on, you can use these steps to work on that. So say it's anxiety, and you might say, even though I feel really anxious, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Even though I feel really anxious, I choose to feel safe anyway. It can be as simple as that, and that's okay. That's an absolutely acceptable starting point. Or you can go into more detail. Even though I feel really anxious when I think about this, even though I feel really anxious when this happens, even though I get triggered when I see this. So it can be the specifics. So that's the specifics of the situation. So what makes you feel anxious? You can also go into the specifics of the feeling. So that can be, even though I feel really anxious and it gives me this swirly feeling in my tummy, and we can describe that. You can give that a physical form. I get this swirly feeling in my tummy that feels like fireworks, or that feels, if it's got a colour, it feels blue, or whatever that may be for you. It might feel like a ball made of metal, even though I get this ball made of metal in my tummy when this happens. So you can bring in the specifics of the physical feeling and the specifics of the situation. So even though when I think about work, for example, I get this metal ball in my tummy. So you can get really specific in that sense. And you can change it, so you're going to say your setup statement 3 times. So working with the example that we've just given, we could go, even though I feel really anxious when I think about work, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Even though I get this blue metal ball in my tummy when I think about my boss, I choose to feel safe anyway. Even though I feel really anxious when I think about work, that's okay, and I'm okay. So it's variations on a theme. You're talking about the same issue and using different words to, the purpose of the setup statement is to bring out those feelings, to connect you into that problem. So while you're doing your setup statement, you may start to feel a little bit worse. And what you can do before you begin is take a level. So how anxious do you feel? And if it's not anxious, if it's something else, that's completely fine. It's how anxious do you feel on a scale from 0 to 10. So it may be anxiety, it may be anger, it may be sadness, it may be fear. There's any number of feelings that you could work on. You can also work on physical sensations, and you can also work on beliefs. So to work on physical sensations, that's kind of easier because we're used to describing how we feel physically. So even though I have this stabbing pain in my stomach, that's okay and I'm okay. And you don't need to link that to any emotions or beliefs. If that's where you are right now, if that's the way the problem is presenting, you can just go with that. Even though I've got a shooting pain behind my left eye, that's okay and I'm okay. And I choose to feel safe anyway. So you can use it on just a physical pain. You can use it on emotions and the physical sensations linked to them, and you can use it on beliefs. So if you were to work with beliefs, you might be working with something. Sometimes it's harder to spot what's a belief because you believe it, you know. Our beliefs to us are facts, so it might not always occur to you to challenge them. And sometimes with beliefs, that can be where it's useful to work with a practitioner. But sometimes we can recognise that we're believing something that's not necessarily true. So you might say to yourself, this always happens, people always let me down. And then you can go, is that really true? Because that's a belief, people always let me down. Is that really true? Can you find 5 examples when people haven't let you down? And then you can tap on, even though part of me believes. So if you're working with a belief, you would go, even though part of me believes that people always let me down, that's okay, and I'm okay. And I choose, and this is a good one for saying I love and accept myself if you can, because what you want to say is I love and accept all parts of myself, even the part that believes this. And so you're then not rejecting a part of yourself. Accepting all of our parts is such an important part of healing. So all of that was about the setup statement really, and the setup statement is kind of the bit with the most structure, so it's kind of easier for me to explain how to do it. I'm not going to go through the points in this video because there are other videos that will explain that, and I'll link those below. If I can figure out how to link them within the video, I'll do that. But once you've done your setup statement, you should be well and truly connected to the thing that you're working on. And I will just say, with regards to what I was just saying about the level of physical sensations, emotions and beliefs, pretty much anything you're working on, you can work on at any of those levels. Most things have a component of each. So say you're working on anxiety on an emotional level, there'll be a physical sensation connected with that, and there'll be some beliefs underneath that, and it might be things like the world isn't safe for me, or I'm not good enough. Is a big one for all of us, some variation on I'm not good enough. You can come at it on any or all of those levels. So you could work on your anxiety just on the physical feeling. I will say that you will get the deepest healing working on the belief level. The emotion level is a good one to work on. That's probably where I work most often, because the belief level takes consistent effort. These beliefs have been deeply ingrained within us, often since childhood, and to change a belief, we can do it, and we need to be committed to that process. But it's absolutely doable. I would say, if you're tapping on a belief, do it every day for a month and see where you're at. Maybe at the start of the month, rate how strongly you believe that on a scale from 0 to 10, and look at it again at the end of the month, see if the belief has shifted or changed. Beliefs are a really great thing to work with, because that's going to massively change your life. So onwards from the setup statement, you're working around the points, and you're saying like reminder statements, just that follow your feelings as you go. So you might just start with this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety. I'm working with anxiety because most of us have got some form of anxiety or stress to deal with. But if there's something more pressing for you, obviously use that. And you can just use a statement that simple and just go to each point one at a time and repeat the same statement. And that's completely fine. But what you will notice as you do that, I would say probably start there actually. And what you will notice as you do that is thoughts come up. Maybe other emotions come up, maybe there's a different emotion underneath that anxiety, and you'll start thinking about what it is that you're anxious about. So you might start by going, this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety. And what I would say is set the intention of doing a full round of just saying this anxiety, because then you're not putting any pressure on yourself to think of other words. And then you might get to here and think, this anxiety about my boss. This anxiety about my boss. I feel really anxious when my boss does this. So as the statement comes to you, you can say it on the next point, and then you can just repeat that statement until a different statement comes to you, and that really takes the pressure off. I think what people get really stuck on when doing their own EFT is thinking of the right words. And it doesn't matter at all what words you use. The words are there to connect you to the problem. So if you're thinking about the problem, there is something about speaking and hearing it in your own voice, but you can't get the words wrong. But you don't have to think of a different statement with each point. You don't have to come up with this whole creative, elaborate thing. It's you can just go this anxiety, this anxiety, this anxiety. And do that all around the points. And then when you come back to here, you can say, so we start with the reality, which some people might call the negative, but it is just the reality. And the idea is that we will then move through towards a more positive feeling, a more positive outcome. So we'll start with this anxiety, and then when we come all the way around and back to here again, like we might say, maybe it's time to let some of this go. Maybe I can let some of this go now, and see how that feels in your body. Say that, so you're speaking to your body, speaking to your subconscious, and noticing how that responds. So maybe I can let some of this go now, and your stomach might go, and then you might go, I'm not ready for that yet. So you can go back and forth. So a round on the negative, reality, or 2 rounds on the reality, and then move on to, maybe I can let some of this go. And it's not that now you have to let it go, that has to be it. It's just seeing how that feels in your body. And then you can say, no, it's not time to let this go yet. Part of me feels I need this to stay safe. I'm just going to hang on to this for a little bit longer. So you can go back and forward, and it's kindness to yourself. There's no pushing, there's no forcing yourself in EFT. It's all just taking things at your own pace and as gently as you can. So I'm not ready to let this go. I wonder if I could let just a tiny little bit of this go. I wonder if that feels any safer. No, it's not okay to let any of this go. And that doesn't feel safe because, and you might find that you need to spend 10 rounds on the reality or the negative before you can start going, maybe I can let some of this go. Maybe I can release a little bit of this. Maybe I don't need this as much as I thought I did. Word it however feels right for you. Some people don't like the words let it go. Some people prefer release. Some people prefer to just say, I don't really need this anymore. Maybe this is coming from old stuff. I wonder why, so we can investigate. I wonder why I feel I need to hang on to this anxiety. I wonder what this anxiety is giving me. I wonder if I really need this. And your body might, thoughts might come to you, your body might respond. Your body will certainly relax as you say, it's okay to hold on to this as long as I need to. But I wonder why I feel like I need to. I wonder what's going on here. So being so gentle and so kind with yourself. And eventually, and it might be very quick, often with EFT it is very quick. I'm kind of giving you the idea that it's going to take longer just because it can help you to sort of feel less pressure. If you think, I'll give myself a long time to get through this, you often don't need it. It's often a very, very quick thing. And then you can start, once you've done this sort of back and forth and you've come to the point where, yeah, I could let go of this. I don't really need this anymore. It feels safe to not be anxious. It feels safe to speak up maybe. You might start thinking of things that you want to do, practical changes you want to make in the world as a result of exploring these feelings. Maybe you want to leave your job or whatever it is that you're working on. So, yeah, I could let this go now. I don't really need this anxiety. I know what I'm going to do now. And then we start thinking about the positive. I know that I'm safe. I know that I don't really need to worry about this. I know that I don't like being in this situation. But I know there are things I can do about it. I understand that I can speak to my boss, whatever solutions I've come to. I can speak to my boss. I can set my boundaries. I can start looking for other work. You know, whatever comes up for you as you're tapping, because you'll come up with your own solutions. And that's why I'm not kind of giving a set script today. I'm explaining to you how to do it for yourself, because your words are going to be the best words. And if you've used my EFT tapping videos or other EFT tapping videos and found some relief with them, then this is going to be so much greater. This is like 10 times more powerful because it is your own words and your own situation. And the more specific we can be with EFT, the more powerful it is. So if you think about the relief that you've got from a general video, imagine how much you're going to get from a specific one that you've created for yourself. And this is what would happen within an EFT session. If you were to sit down and have a session with me, I would take the words that you were speaking to me and turn them into the EFT tapping, and people will often be like, well, how did you know? And I'll be like, you just told me. So often we say things and we don't necessarily realise what's going on in our heads, the stories that we're telling. We can be speaking from the subconscious without really being aware of it. So another great way, if you're still stuck for words, I find this the best way of doing it, just straight from your heart, without any planning, without any, writing things down, and that works for me. But for a lot of people, especially at first, it can feel better to have something written down. So another way of doing it is just to journal. So just to write about how you're feeling. I feel and just really go for it, let it all out. Don't try and be nice. Just have a proper rant on the page, and then you can tap around the points going, I'm absolutely furious. I really am so angry. I really hate what happened here. This is what happened, and this, she really said that, and how could she have said that? And then you'll start to feel calmer, and as you start to feel calmer, you can say, I don't need to hold on to this. This is not my energy. I'm ready to give this back to her now. You know, do you see it? Does that make sense? If you have any questions or any comments about how this works or how to create your own EFT tapping, please do let me know in the comments, because I would love to know how I can help you better on this channel. And I'm really hoping that this has been useful to you. So do give me feedback, and we can make this into a series. We can add more videos to this. And I'm not going to stop doing specific EFT tapping videos. There will be more to come in future months. But yeah, my hope with this one was just to really put the power in your hands. And obviously, if you want to have a one-to-one session, if it's for learning how to do this, then that's cool. Or if it's to work on something that you're working on, then that is great too. Feel free to get in touch for any of those things, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.